The first speaker I'm looking at is actually a Pro, ESL63 Pro. I believe they only went to the United States, but they are distinctive in a couple of respects. One is that they have handles on the side, and the other one is that they have a metal grill rather than the aluminium louvered grill. And it's a lot more open and transparent, and also keeps the whole frame a lot more rigid. They are terrific, and you may have noticed one of mine before. I've actually had some steel sheets cut to size, perforated steel sheets, that is, cut to size, and have been inserting them in some of my speakers. Not all. It can get expensive if you only get a few done, but I hope to get more cut eventually. These two diaphragms are the ones out of it, which I actually did a while ago, but I did them too loose. As you can see, that just goes straight to, and that's only 100 grams. It should be able to do 160 or at least without hitting the stator. Yeah, my fault. But the method I used, I'm not going to use anymore. The method that I did use was on a sheet of glass, placing and the mylar sheet, stretching it using a spring balance and gaffer tape to hold it down around the surround, and the idea is that you tension it at each point around, and you then tape it down, and that's meant to hold it. But I always found that it never kept the tension. The gaffer tape only has to move 0.5 millimetre and you've lost all your tension, and there's just, it might work sometimes if you're lucky, and I probably did get a few panels that were good, but it's not a good enough way of doing it. So I will be using my new jig to re-diaphragm them, as you will see later. Anyway, otherwise these two are okay, and I will take off the mylar and redo them. The stators I've previously glued down, and they're quite solid. They're not moving. The only problem with these two is the actual loose diaphragm. That's all. The hole there, I think I put there. One idea I had was to use a hot gun to spray over them with warm air to try and see if I could shrink them, but it doesn't work. It's it does nothing, and and then all of a sudden it just shrivels up and holes appear and so on. There is no in between, so there's no real way of tensioning it with a hot air gun. It's possible that if you had an oven that you could gradually increase the temperature a degree at a time, you might be able to, but well, too hard. I will just redo them. The next step is to take the panels apart. There's two things to do. Remove the 3 screws and nuts, and remove the clips. There's sometimes only 2 clips each edge. On this one there's 4, but on the base panel there's only 2 on each, so they vary. Right, now to take the screws off, I use a number 1 posi drive or Phillips. This is a posi drive. Hold the other side, make sure you got a good grip of the nut, undo it, nut screw. Do that 3 times. Now the clips. I generally just use any screwdriver and carefully make sure you don't puncture the diaphragm, but just get under the edge of the clip and with your finger on the other side just gradually push it off, and it comes off without too much trouble. The number of clips seems to vary between panels. I will, when I put these back together, I will actually add more clips to give them extra security. Okay, now time to separate them. One more clip. Okay, let's see. It's slightly sticky, so try to make sure that the glue doesn't pull the diaphragm off, although it's probably not so important with this, as I feel the diaphragm is loose anyway, but we shall try and save it if we can, just in case. Okay, so separate them, and there we go. So the back panel, yes, the stator is quite solid. Even though the glue looks pretty old, it's very solid. To remove the stator, I'd almost have to destroy it. What I will end up doing is putting a dab of glue in just a few little corners, just to ensure that it stays put. Now, why was this one faulty? Diaphragm is loose as anything. I can see what's happened is the glue has come loose and it's actually pulled this way. You can see the gap along there. It's pulled this way, and it's now just loose, sitting straight on the stator. Even though it hasn't entirely come away, it has slid sideways, and yeah, that's what's wrong. So it needs a new diaphragm. Another one for my collection. So let's take it off. There's no real need to be gentle. It does have to come off no matter what, so I tend to just save them for my collection. I will probably measure their resistivity just for the hell of it. likewise I can see the rainbow effect on the backside of the mylar, which is that clear coating again. Interesting. Love to know what it is. Okay. Another one for my collection. On this one, once again, really gummy glue, comes off quite easily. Good. The stator is on quite firmly, so no need to take it off. As I say, I will place a few dabs of glue in a few corners just to make sure that it stays in place. When pulling apart the black panels, please be aware that between the panels there are 3 washers. Between the 2 half panels. The white panels don't require these, only the black ones. Obviously, when they updated the black to the cream and then the white panels, they did a few things. A couple of them was that the fairly close pattern of the grill is a lot more closed on the black ones. On the cream and white, they became a lot more open. I assume they thought it was a good idea. The black ones are a little bit more rigid, but not by a lot. But probably the main reason they changed was these little washers. The white panels don't need them, so obviously when they first did the black panels, they accidentally got the height of the 3 inner mounts to separate the panels wrong, and so they had to put in washers. But the white panels unnecessary, which is a good thing. Okay. Next thing, this particular black panel is one I've done previously. I've replaced the diaphragm myself previously, and while it's okay, it is a little bit loose, but not by a lot, and I will probably keep it here. But I've noticed that the resistivity is really high, so I'm going to have to take a little bit more attention to recoating it. Now, fortunately, the stator behind it is reasonably firm, and I've noticed that if I push behind hard enough, then yes, I can break the bond, so I'm careful not to do that. I think what I will do is simply place a few dabs of glue in various spots, and that should be sufficient. But I will do it in quite a lot of spots to ensure that it stays put. The other half of the black panel, it was loose. The stator, that is, the stator was loose, and so this will have to be redone. Not sure why I didn't attempt to re-glue it last time, but anyway, it will this time. You can see where previously the glue has gone through the fabric and sealed a lot of it off. Not much I can do about that. Hopefully there's still enough left to do it. The other thing to note here is that whenever this particular one was re-glued, or initially glued, I'm not sure which, they used too much. You need the most minuscule amount to secure it, and that's what I will do. When removing the stator, don't forget that you need to unsolder the points on the stator that attach to the mounts on the grill. So before you can completely remove the stator, you need to get in here and unsolder that joint where it mounts onto the board. Just as you're heating it, just slowly pull it away and that's fine. I usually leave the clips there, no need to take them out. Also, it lets you know where it should be. Next, we shall clean it.